So our next topic is the night sky. Most of the time when you're thinking about night, you're thinking about something like this. So intense blue skies on the outside and lots of artificial lighting inside. So it's very rare to see images where there's only light coming in from the outside. It's almost always combined with the interior lighting. And that's pretty understandable because if you just use this weak blue light, the interior is going to be pretty dark and it's not going to look too great. But just to show you how it's done, I'm going to show you how to create that night on light look. So basically, it's as simple as creating a gradient map. So let's create a gradient ramp. And change the mapping type to spherical environment. Set the horizon to darkish blue, like that, and the top to even darker blue. So something like this. I'm just going to use this map in my environment slot. Instance it. And for now, let's turn off those light portals, just to see what we get with this environment light only. Okay, and it already looks pretty similar, maybe a bit too bright. Let's check our camera settings. For late night, they would probably be something like, okay, maybe 2-second exposure. I think maybe 1 second is enough. So the camera exposure is alright. I'll check the overall brightness of the sky. I think it might be slightly too bright. And to control that easily, you can just run the map through an output map. Okay, just make sure everything below the horizon is black. And let's run the map through an output. Keep old map as submap, and let's reduce the intensity to maybe 0.5. I think that's a close match with what we have in our reference image. The interior is pretty dark. Shadows are not great, so we can use those skylight portals in a different mode to bring in some additional light. So turn on the portal, I'll change it from skylight to an invisible light to specular's reflections, only diffuse is turned on, and set the intensity pretty weak and color pretty blue. Okay, so that's the general idea. Maybe let's desaturate it and reduce the intensity even further. I think that's okay. Now we have some sort of shadows going on. Lots of noise though, because the light levels are pretty low. But once you add some artificial lighting, it's gonna be fine. And I'm gonna use the same settings for these upper portals as well. Okay, so only affect diffuse and make sure it's set to invisible. Now you have some slightly sharper shadows and slightly more light coming in from the window, but the overall look is still something like you would get on a night shot like this. Okay guys, so I seem to have found a little mistake I made. I forgot to rotate my map 90 degrees. So now the sky should be oriented correctly. Yep, and that looks more like it. I actually think the sky might be a bit too bright. So before rendering I'm just gonna go up and turn down the output amount to 0.1. And that's better. I'm not sure if you would ever render something like this, but there you have it. So now let's try to make it a bit more interesting by adding some moonlight. And this is one of those rare cases where I would actually use standard light instead of vray lights. So basically choose your target direct and create a light pointing in the direction you'd like. Okay, let's move it up a little bit. And let's adjust the settings. So let's make a quick render. Okay, and you actually can't see the light since its diameter is too small. You want to increase the fall off, actually the hotspot, to cover your whole scene. Okay, that's great. But the intensity is much too strong. It looks like almost sunlight. Let's bring it way down. 0.05 maybe. And I think still too strong. 0.01. Okay, that might be alright. But the light is too white. I want to make it more blue. So change that color. And that's better. Maybe bring up the intensity just a bit. Okay. And look at the shadows, they are perfectly sharp, like drawn on with a pencil or something. I don't really like this look, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna change my shadows to something more realistic. Those are the area shadows, which can be found under vray shadow parameters. And set the object type to sphere and try it with the default settings. It's already better. Maybe let's make them even softer by increasing the size. The size of our light. Okay, that's fine. And let's render the whole scene and see how it looks together. Alright, so there's your night scene with some moonlight.